In this video, I will teach you how to purge data, in other words, create a purge note in Jackalope. There are two ways to create a purge note. One is through the Notes tab, and one is when you're directly working with data. Within this batch that I submitted earlier today, I can see here that there is a volume button here in yellow. The yellow is indicating that there's a warning about this data. If I clicked the yellow volume button, I will be taken to a data viewer window here. I still have my original Jackalope window open, but Jackalope opened this detailed data viewer window here, where I can see various things about this data. So let's imagine that with this warning that there's an AADT % difference from the last count, and let's say I review this data and determine that this is in fact completely bad data. I don't even want it in the system as a warning. I don't want it in the system at all. So from this window here, I can click New Note, and this is going to give me a pop-up so that I'm able to create a purge note. All notes are linked to the user that creates them, so there is a record of who creates what kinds of notes, but this description here can just be something you want to enter for helpful use in the future. So this is my demonstration on a purge note, and in this case I will click that I want to purge the data. Other types of notes can include no AADT notes, where the data is left intact in the system but isn't used in downstream processing, and then other types of notes that can be reviewed at a later time, like no factor, no HPMS, and on. When I click Purge Note, or the purge flag here, Jackalope will automatically assume I'd like to purge all data types. If that's not the case, now in this case we only had volume data, but if that's not the case and I just wanted to purge volume and leave class, or just purge class and leave volume, I can select whatever combination of these I'd like to do. But in this case, we'll just leave it as purge all. And I'll say save changes. I'll be given the pop-up, am I sure I want to purge the data? And I'll say yes. The difference between Tratis and Jackalope is that data isn't actually purged in the way that you would take an eraser and completely remove data from ever having existed. What basically happens is this data is now given a note attached to it that it is purged. It's not going to be used at all. It won't appear on reports even with a note about it. This is in the database but fully marked as basically black purged data. So initially I'll see that I'm viewing purged data in this data viewer window, and if I want to actually see it and interact with it and report on it, I would need to delete this purge note to restore it. So in this case I'll hit OK or close. So yes, I know that it's purged data. You can see my purge is here. Now if I come back to my original Jackalope window, this yellow button, if I click refresh, will now turn black, and black indicates that it's been purged. You'll note here that we have two black V buttons. That's because in a previous demonstration I had purged this once before. Every time a count is purged, a record of that is kept. So you can see here there was a purge done twice. If I were to decide later that I don't actually want this data purged, I could either delete the note or I could just resubmit the data, and then we would have our yellow V button appear once again. Now let's imagine that I don't want to purge data within a batch because maybe I don't know where the data was submitted, or I have a large range of data and I don't want to purge day by data type. I just want to purge an entire site's worth of data. I can do that by using the Note tab. So in that case, I'll go up to my Notes, Jackalope, and I'll tell Jackalope I want to create a new purge or a new note. And in this case, I could leave it at site specific, although you can also do by site group or system wide. If you had a group of sites that you had created that you knew all had counter problems and you wanted to purge the entire site group's worth of data, you can do that. Or if you wanted to do system wide, like you knew that there was a statewide power outage on January 3rd, and any counts that came in would have been incomplete, and you know you want to purge all data regardless of the type for January 3rd, you could do that by doing a system-wide purge. But for today's example, we'll do site-specific. I'll start typing in my site that we had just been looking at. And as I keep typing, you'll see that Jackalope's going to narrow down my list here. And we will just pick, let's pick the first one that comes up. I believe this is it here, 055. Yep, this is the one we were just looking at. So here we'll do a description just for our reference. The begin date, let's imagine that I know this site has had problems for all of 2017. So I'll click January 1st, 2017 through today's date is September 6th, 2017, and any data that happens to fall within January 1st through today's date, I want to purge. And I don't care what type of data it is, I want it all gone because I happen to know this site's data was bad, as this example, and I'll hit save. And in this case, I have now created a purge note for this site, for this date range, for all types of data. And any batch that you were to go in and look at that happened to have this data associated with it, you would see their buttons had now turned black if you were able to go and find them.